Hello, Algebra 1. This is our first video for section 7.5. We're going to be factoring, which we saw a little bit of in the last section. So my iPad kids, you have your note sheets, and my other students, you have your student journals. And you're going to turn to page 227 if you have your student journal. Let me remind you what factoring means. So first of all, last section, we factored things like 3x squared minus 6x. And factoring, I explained, was the opposite of distributing. And so we looked for a greatest common factor. Out of 3 and 6 would be 3. And out of x squared and x, that would be an x. And then we figured out what was in the parentheses originally. So 3 times what is 3? Well, 3 times 1. And x times what is x squared? There's a 1x. Minus 3 times what is 6? 2. And x times, actually we don't need another x. And so this is our final answer. It's like undistributing. The other thing I want you to remember is our multiplication rules. When we have something like x plus 2 times x plus 6. And we use distribution for that as well. Or FOIL, the FOIL method, first, outside, inside, last, you might remember that. If we distribute x times x is x squared, x times 6 is 6x, 2 times x is 2x, and 2 times 6 is 12. And we can combine the two here in the middle, x squared plus 8x plus 12. The reason why I bring that up is because now today we are going to take that answer and we are going to figure out what was in the parentheses originally. What did we multiply to get this answer? And that, again, is undistributing, or factoring as we call it. So if you just take a look, how did we know there was an x squared here? X times x gives us x squared. So we know in the parentheses there's going to be an x in the first place of each parentheses. How did we get 12? We multiplied 6 times 2 to get that 12. Well, why didn't we multiply 4 times 3, or maybe 1 times 12, something like that? Well, the reason why we know it was 6 times 2 is because we also added a 6x and a 2x to get 8x. If we would have had a 4 and a 3 here, that would have added up to 7. That wouldn't make sense. And so we are going to work backwards like that for these next few problems. A few of these we'll do together, and then I'll let you do a few on your own as checkpoints. Take a look at number 1. I see it's a trinomial, so let's start off with 2 parentheses. I see there's a c squared, so I know I multiplied c times c. I see at the end there's a 7. Well, what times what is 7? Well, there's only one option there, 1 times 7. So let's plug in 1 and 7, and it really doesn't matter the order. And so how do we make sure that we're going to get an 8c in the middle? To get the middle term, that's when you always multiply on the outside and the inside. And 1c and 7c, those add up to 8c. And it's positive 8, so we're going to put plus 1 and plus 7. So that's our final answer. C plus 1, C plus 7. And that is how you factor that trinomial. Let's do another one. I see it's a trinomial. Make 2 parentheses. A squared is a times a. There are a lot of options for what multiplies to 64. 1 times 64, 2 times 32, 4 times 16, and 8 times 8. Which one of those is going to add up to 16a in the middle? Well, 1 plus 64 would be 65, that would be 34, that would be 20, 8 plus 8. And again, to check that, the outside is 8a, the inside is 8a, and that adds up to 16. And so you can rewrite it again, but if you would rather just box that, that's your final answer. Number 3 we'll use as a checkpoint. Let's move down to the next row, which I changed all of those to be negative so we can make it a little bit different. So let's do it again. D times D. What times what is 8? We have 1 and 8 and 2 and 4. Which one of those is going to give us a 6? 2 and 4. But this time I need a negative 6. So when I multiply these, I get 4d and 2d, And when I add them, right now they are positive 6, but I really want them to be negative 6. So let's make them both negative. Let's do that again. S times S. What times what is 10? Well, 2 and 5 is what I think of first, and then 1 and 10. Which one of those combinations is going to add up to 11? Definitely the 1 and 10. But I want it to be a negative 11, so we're going to make them both negative. And that's your final answer. Try number 6 as a checkpoint. And let's move down a row. Number 7, B times B. This time we need a negative 54. Okay, what times what is 54? Besides 1 and 54, the other one that I think of automatically is 6 times 9. We could also do 2 and 27, but which one of these combinations is going to give us a 3? Well, none of them add up to 3, but what you'll notice here, because we have a negative, what that means is that one of these numbers needs to be a negative. And so what's going to end up happening is you'll subtract the two numbers. We need a 3. If you subtract 6 and 9, you get 3. So we're going to put 6 and 9 in here. But the question is, well, which one of those is negative? If we need a positive 3, it means the bigger number has to be a positive, and the 6 has to be a negative. Try that. Let's see, 9b, and this is negative 6b, and those add up together to be positive 3. So the trick is, if the last number is negative, you know your signs are going to be different. One positive, one negative. Whichever the bigger number is going to have this symbol right here. So this is positive. We need our bigger number, which is 9, to be positive. Let's try that again. So we have y times y. What times what is 2? There's really only one option, 1 and 2. I need a negative 2, so one of these needs to be negative. Okay, so the question is which one is negative? When I add them together, I need a negative 1. So I need my bigger number to be negative, and the smaller number 1 will be positive. Check it out. Negative 2y and positive 1y makes negative 1. Let's do one more here, number 9. I think there should be a u squared here. So we have u times u. What times what is 18? 1 and 18, 2 and 9, 3 and 6. Which one of those combinations will give us a 3? 3 and 6 will give us a 3. I need one of these numbers to be negative, but when I add them, I need a positive 3. So I need my bigger number 6 to have a positive. I'll get 6u and negative 3u. When I add those together, I get positive 3u. I would like you to try number 11 and 12 as a checkpoint as well. So your checkpoints are going to be altogether number 3, number 6, number 11, and number 12. Try those out, and I'll see you tomorrow.